What's up, my wizards? It's Dev from Mtg. We like magic, and it's the last day of Rivals of Ixalan spoilers already. We only got a 5-day preview season this time around, and it was a lot of work, but it was also a lot of fun. So we're going to bring it home today. We got 80 different cards to look at this morning to finish the set off. We're not going to go through all 80 in this one video, because that would take even longer than it's been taking for a video, you know, these like 35, 40-minute videos. We're not going to do that today. What I'm going to go through instead is just, you know, kind of sift through the chaff and bring you all of my favorite cards from the day, whether they're standard playable or any format playable or even limited playable. If I think they're specifically very good in limited, I'll talk about those for a second too. So, I will also, by the way, before we get into it, I'll leave you a link to Mythic Spoiler in the description box down there, so that if you wanted to see the entire rest of the set, you know, things that I deemed not worthy of talking about might be, you know, you might like them a lot. So, just click the link to Mythic Spoiler. You can check out the whole rest of the set yourself. But for now, let's go ahead and start talking about the rest of these cards. Well, there were a couple that I missed last night because they came out a little bit late. The first of which was Wayward Swordtooth. This is 3 mana, 2 and a green for a 5/5 dinosaur with Ascend. You may play an additional land on each of your turns, and it can't attack or block unless you have the city's blessing. Well, first of all, they're doing yard work outside my apartment, and I can't help that. You can probably hear that, but sorry about that in advance. But in any case, this actually looks really pretty freaking good to me. I think that it might be a little bit tough to get the city's blessing in a straight up dinosaurs deck where you're just playing like one huge permanent every turn. That tempers it a little bit, but I do like that being able to play extra lands lets you hit Ascend a little bit easier. So there's that too. There's things to like about the card, but whether or not it ultimately makes the cut in standard dinosaurs, I'm not too sure about. But I do like that once you hit the city's blessing, you've made a 3 mana investment for a 5/5. That's pretty crazy. And again, even if it's not attacking or blocking, it's at least making it easier to get to your, you know, big money dinosaurs. So I like a lot about the card. I'm interested to try it out. This next card, I kind of dismissed at first as not very powerful looking to me, but the more I think about it, the better it gets. This is Herdas Climb right here. It's 3 mana, 1, a green, and a blue for a legendary enchantment. At the beginning of combat on your turn, put a +1/+1 counter on target creature you control. Then, if that creature has 3 or more +1/+1 counters on it, you transform it. It transforms into, check this name out, Winged Temple of Orazca. That's silly. It's a legendary land. You can tap it for a mana of any color. Or you can pay 1, a green, a blue, and tap it to have target creature you control gain flying and get +X/+X until end of turn, where X is its power. Again, I dismissed this card out of hand at first as like, it takes a lot of work, but again, the more I think about it, first of all, it can flip the turn that you play it pretty easily. You know, you play it first main phase, and if you got a long tusk cub with 3 counters on it, boom, not bad, you know? And you can go ahead and use it that combat step if you want to. You know, just pay 1 green blue, tap it. It takes 4 lands, but still, if you have like a 5/5 long tusk cub, now you have a 10/10 flying long tusk cub, which seems pretty sweet. So I don't know if Teamer's going to make slots for this, but Teamer could, you know. They've got Bristling Hydra, they've got Long Tusk Cub, and obviously there's snake decks too, you know, Sultai Snake. They've got Walking Ballista, and obviously the Constrictor and the Cub and all that. So there's counters flying around everywhere, and just one Verdurous Gearhulk makes this thing go off, you know, theoretically. So I'm a fan. I want to see if we can make this work, especially since it looks like it slots into already powerful decks like Sultai and Teamer. But will it be worth the slot? That's the problem. Of course, you can always make the argument that this is just another land slot in some ways, so it's a little easier to fit. I like that argument, but I'm not sure that it plays out in practice. We'll have to wait and see. This card looks more powerful than I gave it credit for at first, definitely. And, by the way, there's already a green-blue pummeler deck that's sort of like bottom of Tier 2. You know, it top 8's a lot, but it hasn't really, you know, been a very important deck so far in the standard. But this could change that a little bit. You know, pummeler already has the ability to double its power, so all you got to do is double its power, gain flying, and then start doubling its power with the energy, you know. Or you just do that in reverse. Double its power with the energy a bunch of times and then send it over huge with flying. I mean, this looks really good in that deck, but is it worth the slot for an enchantment that will likely not do a whole lot the turn it comes into play? That I'm not sure about. Up next is Kite Corsair. This is 2 mana, 1 and a blue for a 2/1 human pirate that has flying as long as it's attacking. Now, I like this specifically again in limited, you know. We've seen better 2 mana 2/1 flying pirates even just in this set. But if you're playing limited, you know, a 2 mana 2/1 flying is pretty much always going to be good. And you're almost always going to care about flying when it's attacking and almost no other time. Of course, you want to block other flyers, yeah, but if you're building an aggressive limited deck, this is exactly what you're looking for. Check out Knight of the Stampede. This is 4 mana, 3 and a green for a 2/4 human knight. With dinosaur spells you cast cost 2 less to cast. That seems fantastic in limited if you're building dinosaurs. In standard, I think that 4 mana is an awful lot, but hey, you know, if you're trying to get to, you know, 7 and 8 and even 9 mana now, dinosaurs after we saw that legend yesterday, you know, you're getting to dinosaurs that are really difficult to get to if you don't have a piece like this out. It is huge ramp. It allows you to cast a 7 mana dinosaur on your next turn, provided that you get a land drop. So that seems good, but it has to survive. This has the same problems as things like Drover of the Mighty and Otepic Huntmaster, in that it has to survive. But I guess the good thing is that it's a lot easier to survive. They have to revolt their Fatal Push to kill it. They have to, you know, put an extra energy into Harness Lightning. They can't kill it with a Braid or Lightning Strike. I mean, this does survive a lot of removal in the format, but it is on curve with things like Cast Out, Vraska's Contempt, so it's possible you can run into problems, and this is just a wasted slot. And yeah, I'm making the dies to removal argument here, but noted, by the way, notice that that I said it doesn't die to a lot of removal first. I'm just worried about what it does die to. So, you know, if you can't guarantee your ramp, then you essentially just forfeited your 4th turn. And that is not good considering all the other stuff that's happening on turn 4 in Standard right now. But I will say that this is pretty decent in Limited, where it's going to really help you cast these huge dinosaurs you're going to open up, you know. It's nice that there are pieces in this Limited that allow you to actually play with your 9 mana legendary elder dinosaur gold thing, you know. It would really suck to pull one of those and be like, you know, it's 9 mana, I probably shouldn't play this, but we have ways you can. Next is Oathsworn Vampire. This is 2 mana, 1 and a black for a 2/2 Vampire Knight that enters the battlefield tapped, and you can cast it from your graveyard if you gained life this turn. Now, this looks standard playable off the rip. I wanted another, you know, 2 mana, 2-powered black vampire. I've done that like twice in the last couple of days. Almost said zombie. But in any case, and this sort of has a zombie ability, you know, you can play it from your graveyard, but you have to have gained life. Which I kind of don't mind. You know, there's plenty of life-linking dudes in the vampire deck. And there's a couple of things, like there's a combat trick that got spoiled today, that it's like 1 mana to give a creature +2/+2 and you gain 2 life. We've also got that removal spell for 2 mana that gives a creature -2/-2 and you gain 2 life. Essence Extraction is in the format. There's just plenty of ways to abuse a card like this. But the problem is, even if you do abuse it, it's still just a vanilla 2/2 that enters play tapped. And I'm not sure how great that's going to be in Standard, even if you can recur it. And Recursion seems like it's a pretty good ability, too, in Standard right now. Recursion's fine. It's in a pretty good spot. But again, I'm just not sure that this is pushed enough for Standard. A vanilla 2/2 that comes into play tapped is probably not where you want to be, no matter how many times you get to play it. You know. Up next is a card I really like. This is Reckless Rage right here. It's just 1 red mana for an instant, and it deals 4 damage to target creature you don't control, and 2 damage to target creature you control. Okay, so at first, this looks really narrow, you know? You need a creature out for it to be good, and hopefully the creature that you have out is 3 toughness or higher, and you don't plan on attacking with it that turn. You know, it seems a little narrow at first glance, but this actually has some pretty cool implications. Obviously, there's Enrage. This triggers Enrage, so if you have a Ripjaw Raptor out or something, this is essentially 1 mana to kill a guy and draw a card. That seems pretty good, right? So with Enrage triggers, this seems awesome. This is also good in an Aristocrat style thing where you have a bunch of creatures with like dies triggers, you know, something happens when they die. So this seems pretty sweet in that as well. And honestly, there are going to be times where you don't mind killing your guy so long as you can kill their Glorybringer. You know, you don't mind killing your 1-drop. So there's that. And if I understand this correctly, you can sacrifice the creature in response that you're targeting. Of your own creature that you're targeting, and the spell won't fizzle. So that's kind of cool. Like if you have, what is it, Fanatical thing, the new Mog Fanatic that they printed, you could always target one of their guys and then target your own Mog Fanatic guy with this, and then sacrifice the Mog Fanatic in response. You know, so that's all of that seems really, really good too. There's just a lot I like about the card. And by the way, probably one of the most relevant tricks you can do with it is that you can kill one of their guys for 1 mana and just target your Hazoret and not care because it's indestructible. Like, there's just so many cool things you can do with a card like this for just 1 mana to kill Glorybringer. That seems great. So this might actually see its fair share of standard play. I like the card. Up next is Slippery Scoundrel. This might be one of my favorite names for a card in the entire set. Sounds like some Looney Tunes stuff. But in any case, it's 3 mana, 2 and a blue for a 2/2 human pirate with Ascend. As long as you have the city's blessing, it has hexproof and can't be blocked. That seems pretty sweet, you know? Especially, again, in sealed, it's crazy. Hexproof and can't be blocked, you're essentially guaranteed, unless they have a sweeper, which is few and far between, you're guaranteed 2 free damage pretty much every turn that they can't do really anything about. So this looks really good to me in sealed or draft if you're building the Ascend deck. You know, I like this a lot. And, you know, if we can reliably make Ascend happen in standard, this would be a great card for a budget deck. You know, again, hexproof and unblockable is a ridiculous combination. So love this card. We're going to try and make it work, and I hope it does. Up next is Riverwise Augur. This is 4 mana, 3 and a blue for a 2/2 Merfolk Wizard. When it enters the battlefield, you draw 3 cards. Then you put 2 cards from your hand on top of your library in any order. Well, this looks limited playable all day, actually. I mean, a body that draws you cards is pretty much always good in limited. You know, think things like Elvish Visionary, but also Augur of Bolus, which this is sort of a callback to, and a couple of other things like Omen Speaker. It doesn't draw you cards, but it scries, and it's still playable and limited. And this reminds me of all of those cards. 4 mana is a bit much, but draw 3 is unbelievable. Especially if you can abuse it with flicker effects and stuff. This thing looks amazing to me. And 4 mana is probably a little bit too much for standard, but again, in budget decks, you can abuse this with flicker effects. Drawing 3 is ridiculous. Yeah, you have to put 2 cards back, but it's not so bad. You essentially, you know, you brainstorm every time this thing comes into play. How could you not like that? Brainstorm on a stick is probably playable. Again, I'm not too sure about standard playability here, but again, it's a freaking brainstorm, you guys. That's a good card. I think we can all agree with that. But would you pay 3 more mana for it to put it on a body? I might. We'll see. Up next is a card I'm going to show my face so we can talk about for a second. This is Relentless Raptor. I like all the alliteration in the card names of this set. The Slippery Scoundrel, Relentless Raptor. This is 2 mana. It's a red and a white for a 3/3 dinosaur with vigilance, and it attacks or blocks each combat if able. Okay, so honestly, this looks nuts to me at first glance, you know. It has to attack and block every combat, which usually we just see attacks each combat if able. But this has vigilance, so it really kind of screws itself into having to both attack and block every combat. So you don't expect it to be around for too long, but it is extremely aggressive while it is around. You know, you drop this on turn 2, it's just a better Watch Wolf with, you know, a relevant creature type in the right deck. That's going to maybe deal like 6 damage for you before it's all over, and for 2 mana, you're fine with that, even if it ends up dying on turn 4 because it has to swing in. Also note that Vigilance, while it kind of looks like almost a drawback, you know, because again, it screws itself into having to attack and block every combat. So there's that. But Vigilance is at least a decent keyword ability, and it's good in the Path of Metal deck, you know? We needed probably another creature, especially a 2-drop, that has a relevant ability for that deck. And this definitely does. Super aggressive. 2 mana, 3 power, and 3 toughness, and a keyword ability, and it works with Path of Metal. I really like this card. It's definitely seeing standard play. Even if it's just in the Boris aggro deck, it's going in. Check out Orazco Relic right here. This is 3 mana for an artifact with Ascend. You can tap it to add a colorless to your pool, or you can tap it and sacrifice it to gain 3 life and draw a card, but only do that if you have the city's blessing. Well, do note, this is common, so it's possible it could see some Pauper play. It's a decent ramp piece in that format, and there's decks that care about artifacts, but I don't see anything currently existing in Pauper that really wants this, but it is at least, you know, pointed out that it's common. And it's good that it's common because it's going to be, you know, decent ramp in the limited environment, especially for the Dinosaurs deck. And the ability to gain 3 and draw a card is probably going to be pretty relevant later on in the game when you don't necessarily need the ramp anymore, but you do kind of need to stay alive and fish for options and answers. So I actually think the card looks pretty sweet, but again, probably not much standard play. But aside from that, card looks sweet. Here's Overgrown Armus. This is 5 mana, 3 and 2 green for a 4/4 dino with enrage. Whenever Overgrown Armus is dealt damage, create a 1/1 green saproling creature token. Well, I wasn't actually going to bring this card up, but the more I look at it, this is like the 4th time I've looked at it today, the more it looks good to me, really good in Limited specifically. I mean, a 5 mana 4/4 body with a relevant creature type that could create some synergy for you seems decent already, and the fact that it's not going to be too hard to kill. Like, if you run it in or block with it even, you're very likely to get a saproling token and keep your Overgrown Armus. So this could possibly create, 6, 7, 8 even power for you over the course of a game for only a 5 mana investment on a decent body to start with. So I think this is one to watch out for in Limited, especially considering that it's a freaking common, which is pretty good. Next is Jungleborn Pioneer. This is 2 and a green for a 2/2 Merfolk Scout, and when it enters the battlefield, create a 1/1 blue Merfolk creature token with hexproof. Well, like a few things about this, I might in a way like this more than Deeproot Waters. Deeproot Waters has a comparable casting cost. It's blue instead of green, but who's counting? And it gets you, no creatures the turn it comes into play. Very often, but it can get you a lot of creatures on subsequent turns. Well, this costs the same, goes ahead and gets you 2 Merfolk, one of which is one of the tokens that Waters would have created in the first place. This could go well with Deeproot Waters. I understand that, but, it'll get you a bunch of bodies all at one time. But I still don't know if this is good enough for Standard. I'm not even sure that Deeproot Waters is going to be good enough for Standard, even though there's a bunch of stuff that was previewed that looks good with it. It's just, I don't know if it's fast enough, This looks, in some ways, more desirable, though. Going ahead and getting 2 bodies and, still getting a bunch of synergy off of things like Cumena, this looks fine to me. We'll have to play test around. There's not a whole lot of amazing 3-drops other than Cumena and Kapala for that deck, but, there's also the one that flashes in to protect a Merfolk. I mean, there's probably better 3-drops that you want, but I still am really attracted to putting 2 bodies on the battlefield at the same time, 3 mana for 3 power among 2 creatures. That all seems great, and one of them has hexproof. So don't sleep on this. This card actually looks okay. We already play 3 mana cards like, Pianalar or Whirl of Virtuoso, and there's even more, Thopter Engineer and stuff people were playing last Standard. And those are 3 mana bodies that put another creature onto the battlefield with a relevant keyword ability. We played the heck out of those, and I don't see why we wouldn't at least try to play this one, especially at Common. Note that it's Common. It's going to be crazy and limited, and playable somewhat in Pauper if you're building a Merfolk deck. So I have a lot, actually, to say about this card. I probably should have shown my face, but I don't care, and neither do you. Card looks fine. Now here's something that I'm slightly upset about, actually more than slightly upset about, to be honest. I'm going to show you 2 cards at the same time here. One is Jade Bearer, and the other is Mist-Cloaked Herald. These are our 1-drop Merfolks, guys. I mean, we have Cumena Speaker too, but these are our other options for 1-drop Merfolk. You either get, a Slither Blade that has 1 less toughness, but a relevant creature type, or you get something that is more or less completely useless on turn 1, which I just boo, right? I mean, Jade Bearer really should not have the word another on it. It could be a rare and just not have the word another on it, and it would be everything that the Merfolk deck needs. It really needed especially a green 1-drop, because its premier 1-drop is already green. So we wanted to keep that consistent, not have to get blue or green on turn 1. So green 1-drop's really what it needed, but this is not going to cut it. It's useless completely on turn 1, and that's balls. Same thing with Mist-Cloaked Herald, This is just a better Slither Blade. Like, it's probably a little bit more attractive, but I don't like that it's blue. Because, again, I want to keep that deck consistent and reliable. I really want the 2 best 1-drops to be the same color. So there's that, too. I don't know if better Slither Blade is where we want to be for a 1-drop in that deck. We really needed another very aggressive, preferably 2-power 1-drop. We did not see that. And yeah, you could argue that in Dominaria we'll see some more Merfolk. Maybe we'll even get a Lord of Atlantis reprint in Dominaria. That's great. But you just made people wait like 4 months to build a good Merfolk deck, and now it's not looking like we have the 1-drops for a great Merfolk deck in Standard. So that's not good. All the other pieces fell into place except for 1-drop. We've been saying that all week. Oh, we just need a good 1-drop now. And I'm not quite sure at the end of the day that we got that yet. So I'm a little peeved about that. I know a lot of other players probably are too. This is what we're going to have to play with for the next few months until, Dominaria comes out. We're going to try it out, but it doesn't look extremely promising. I think we needed better 1-drops. Here's Sadistic Sky Marcher, another alliterative name that's awesome, by the way. Usually Sky Marcher names aren't great, but Sadistic Sky Marcher, that's pretty cool. It's 3 mana, 2 and a black for a 2/2 Vampire Soldier, and as an additional cost to cast it, you either reveal a Vampire card from your hand, or you pay an extra 1 mana. It has flying and lifelink. Well, if you can reveal a vampire from your hand, this looks really, really good, again, especially in Limited. I'm not sure that it's all there and constructed. I think that this would have been better. If it cost 3 mana, and it said that if you could reveal a vampire from your hand, it costs 1 less to cast. That would be a 2 mana, 2/2 flying lifelink, which would not break Standard. I mean, we have Heart of Kirin in Standard. It wouldn't break Standard. It'd be fine. Probably, maybe. You know, it would be a Vampire Nighthawk that costs 1 black mana less and doesn't have Death Touch. That seems somewhat fair. So I really would have liked if this could cost you 2 mana. At 3 mana, I don't think it'll end up seeing Standard played, but it is ridiculous in Limited. You know, we already like 3 mana 2/2 flyers in Limited. This also has lifelink, and even if you don't reveal a vampire from your hand, 4 mana for a 2/2 flying lifelink actually isn't the absolute worst cost ever in Limited either. So I like the card in that environment specifically, but I don't think it goes any farther. Let's check out Grasping Scoundrel, though. This is just a black mana for a 1/1 human pirate that gets +1/+0 as long as it's attacking. Here's my face, because I really like this card, actually, you know. Black essentially just got the 1-drop that it wanted for the Pirates deck. That's seems good enough to me, you know. We really didn't want to have to play Tracker. Didn't want to have to do that, and now we don't have to. So we're happy about that. You know, Black-Red Pirates already had a couple of decent 1-drops, but this is just yet another good 1-drop for that deck. And we don't have to play too many black 1-drops. You know, it's mostly red 1-drops. So it's not like we have this huge split that we have to worry about on turn 1. You know, we can still prioritize red, but occasionally get the black mana that we need on turn 1 to play this pirate. I'm a big fan. Glad this card exists. Love the rarity on it too. Note that. That seems pretty decent. So, you know, we essentially got another 1 mana, 2 power thing for the pirate aggro deck, and that's 100% what we wanted. Whether we're playing blue-black or black-red, we wanted this card. This will see Standard play, I can promise you that. So, love the card. Glad it exists. Soul of the Rapids right here is 5 mana. That's 3/2 blue for a 3/2 flying hexproof that you'll probably play in Limited. Now, if this can be blocked, it can be killed by things way below its casting cost. You don't want that. But flying and hexproof is too good to pass up in a lot of ways, you know. If you're on a naked board or a board without other flyers to contest it, or if you're in like a blue-black control deck in sealed with enough removal to clear the board of flyers, this is really good. It's going to be almost impossible for your opponent to deal with. It's going to fly over for 3 uncontested on most turns, as long as, again, you can take care of flyers on the other side of the board. I think this is probably worth playing, but don't get fooled into trading down with it. Up next is Siren Reaver. This is 4 mana, 3 and a blue for a 3/2 Siren Pirate with Raid. Siren Reaver costs 1 less to cast if you attacked with a creature this turn. Well, again, in Limited, this looks unbelievable. You know, you get a 3 mana, 3/2 flyer, which is a heck of a deal, you know. But in Standard, again, I don't think this is quite there. You know, 3 mana, 3/2 flyer seems all right, and you have to trigger Raid, but that doesn't seem too hard to trigger Raid. But I don't think a 3 mana, 3/2 flyer that does nothing but that, be a 3/2 flyer, is quite good enough. I think we'll want 3 drops that actually do a thing, as well as 3 drops that don't die to shock and magma spray and stuff. You know, there's a lot to not like about the card, but there's also a lot to like about the card as far as Limited. I don't think it's constructed playable, but in Limited, this is crazy. But here's a card I might really like. This is Martyr of Dusk. It's just 2 mana, 1 and a white for a 2/1 Vampire Soldier, and when it dies, you create a 1/1 Vampire Creature token with lifelink. So I like this a lot. I'm showing my face. So I like this card an awful lot. I am not sure this sees Standard play. Adanto Vanguard and a bunch of other 2-drops are probably straight up better than just a vanilla 2/1 for 2 mana. Although it's not vanilla for long. When it dies, you get a lifelinker, you get a keyword ability, you know. This is essentially 2 mana for a total of 3 power. And that 3rd power has a keyword ability. That seems like a pretty decent card to me. And it keeps your board full, you know. Even if this dies, this still helps you keep, or not keep, but get Ascend later on in the game. Once you have Ascend, it seems like you keep it forever. But in any case. So this helps you, you know, trade in combat profitably without having to lose life or anything, and still keep a board presence, which I like. You know, I like Doom Traveler, so I kind of like this. You know, I'm a big fan. Again, we'll have to wait and see about standard play, but this would be really good in the mono white Vampire Monument deck. This seems like it would go really well to me. So I think this card has legs. We'll just have to wait and see if it's good enough for constructed. But as far as limited, this card is very playable. And let's bring it home with the last card I want to talk about. This is Blazing Hope. It's just 1 white mana for an instant. Exile target creature with power greater than or equal to your life total. You really, when you first start reading this card, you read the first few words and you're like, oh, like you just think you expect it to be absolutely incredible. But as it is, it's not great, just to be honest. The number one thing that I've seen about this card so far today is people keep saying it might be good against Death's Shadow, but you already have Path to Exile in Modern, and Path is just a better card against a lot more decks. You know, it's a really wide card that still kills Death's Shadow. You know, why wouldn't you just play that instead of this? So I don't think it sees all the play in the world. You know, it's a decent 1 mana removal piece for when you get really, really low on life. And against things like Hazaret or the Scarab God, this could be playable considering it's so cheap. Just 1 white mana is good. But once you're getting into, you know, 5 life or less or whatever, then you're really in the red zone. So you're in trouble at that point. And I'm not sure that it's worth having this card sit in your hand completely dead for, you know, 4 or 5 turns or since the beginning of the game. I'm just not sure that it's worth it. But then again, one coffee maker's done, but I don't know if you heard that. But in any case, it might actually be worth that, you know, as a 2 of or something. I don't think this is 4 of removal, but this is either much better than I'm evaluating it off the rip, or it's just a bad card. You know, it sits in your hand dead for way too long. But then again, once Hazaret, you know, gets you down to 4 life, and that deck, Ramming Up Red, gets you down to 3 or 4 life really, really fast, then you're going to really like that you have this card. So I might be completely wrong on this assessment here. You know, once you can use it, it's really, really good. And it's the closest we're going to get to Path to Exile in Standard, probably like ever. So, or Swords to Plowshares or anything like that. So I'm not adverse to testing the card out, trying it out. Maybe it's a sideboard piece against really heavy aggro decks. But as it is right now, it's going to have to prove itself. And against, you know, things like Death Shadow and Modern, there's just better stuff already. So we'll have to see. Like, I think Condemned's probably better, you know. So we'll have to wait and see. But I'm not seeing it just now. But I am willing to be proven wrong on this one. And that's it. That is all of spoiler season in less than a week. Ladies and gentlemen, Wizards, please don't do that to us again. As content creators, don't do that. And even as just regular Magic players, it's really hard to keep up with everything that comes out on a daily basis and compare them to other cards from the set and all that. We need more time to settle down with it, build some decks, and, you know, throw some stuff at the wall, proxy some things up, all that. So all I'm saying is that 5 days for spoiler season is a whirlwind. That's really fast. But I do hope that you guys enjoyed it. I actually had a lot of fun. Spoiler season is one of my favorite times in the year, and I love these extended chill-out sessions on the couch and stuff. I hope that you guys liked it. If you did, make sure you like this video. Sub if you're new for all the content coming up, because Deck Techs are ostensibly going to start next week. I may need a couple of extra days to work on some stuff, because obviously when spoiler season's only a week, then you have a very limited amount of time to play test and build stuff and all that. So maybe give me until Wednesday or so of next week, until maybe a little bit later even, until we get some deck techs out. But until then, still going to be plenty of content. I'm going to have discussion and analysis of this set. I'm going to have the top 10 cards, all that. So make sure you stick with the channel, sub if you're new, hit the bell for the notifications, do all that so you know when we put out new content, because it won't be long that the content's going to be stuff that you really want to see, like deck decks and stuff. So do all that. Hope you guys had fun this spoiler season. Follow me on Twitter at SBMTGDev, or throw me $1 on Patreon at patreon.com/SBMTG to make sure that the deck techs keep coming and that they're as good as possible and all that stuff. You can also, if you really feel like it, check out TCG Player. They help sponsor my content. They're good folks. They gave me this jacket. You know, they're nice people. So check them out. I'll leave a link in the description so you can get boxes of Rivals of Ixalan on pre-order for super crazy dirt cheap at this point. Hell of a discount. Cheapest place you'll find boxes of product online for this set. And honestly, despite the, you know, we always see a bunch of junk on the last day. Despite the last day of mostly, you know, limited playable stuff, we've seen some really good cards in this set. This set actually looks great. Whether you're an EDH player or a standard player looking to make your tribal deck better, we've seen a lot of good stuff in this set. So you might want to go ahead and get your boxes on pre-order for as cheap as possible. You can do that with my friends over at DCG Player. But at that point, I think that I'm done with this one. So I'm going to get some much-needed rest. I'm going to wash my hair. Need to do that really bad. And I'll catch you cats later. I'm Dev from SBMTG. Thanks for watching, my wizards. No matter what you do, remember to spread love and be kind.